Well, I really don't know where to start, to be honest. I've made so many notes, I've got more notes here than I started with. First of all, you live here in a divinely appointed, under a divinely appointed monarchy. Our power elites and our establishment are based on the Church of England. That is our established religion. And no effort is made to accommodate other views, at least secularist views. They will accommodate the views of other religions over and above British secularists. I'd like to just touch on the family. You put great store on the family and the advantages of the family. But I would like to point out that there are a very, very considerable number of people for whom the family is far from the ideal institution that you paint. If you look at the needs of the society today, in a world that is going towards 9 billion people, population, ecological pressures, the problems of global capitalism, and I think it's a great pity that I never have an opportunity to discuss these issues in a political context rather than a gender one. But if you look at the family is not the institution that can provide for the... Yes, if you want the family to be able to fulfill all the needs of populations who demand freedom, who demand democracy, without the other parts of democracy that are necessary, that is freedom of information, freedom of speech, secularism that prevents the overtaking of the rule of the rule of the majority, that does not have any necessary responsibility to protect minorities, then you are not going to come up with a family. If you want every family to have 5 or 6 children, as was the case in the past when we needed to increase the population, that has to stop. Contraception has to be accepted, and people should be congratulated. Women should be congratulated for using birth control and not having more children than they can look after and feed. If we are going to accommodate the freedom of opportunity that people say they want in this society, then the family is not good enough. It is not fit for purpose. If you have parents, if you have thousands of people, as there are in this country, who do not have the support of family in old age and for disability and for looking after members who cannot look after themselves, then you have to have public services that will fill in all those gaps. That is the real big society. Cameron's idea of a big society is a mean little society that means you just look after your own kith and kin. The family is the old tribal way of dealing with need. And personally, I think it would be better to cast the net far wider, close up some of the loopholes so that people feel safe enough not to have to cluster under the umbrella of clerics and authoritarian religions who collude with oppressive societies and will limit freedom and leave the rich to get on with their lives, because the poverty and all the things that people struggle against in ordinary life don't affect them. And if you support that and you prevent the family from adapting, then we will have a dog-eat-dog society, and we will be going backwards, not forwards.
Okay, thank you. And finally, I'll ask Dr. Nasreen to conclude as well.
You know, when I was small, my mum always taught me, take responsibility. If you do something wrong, take responsibility for your action. And I think for so long, the advocates of capitalism, secularism, and liberalism, they have failed to take responsibility for what they have done. And this is crucial. It's not Christianity. Christianity and Islam do not promote the exploitation of women and pornography. Capitalism has. Christianity and Islam do not promote relationships outside marriage that have caused the breakdown of the family unit. But the liberalization of sexual relationships has. So I think it's high time for the advocates of these kind of values to take some responsibility of the effects of these values upon society. Secondly, I think it's quite ironic that if we're talking about breaking a patriarchal society, what is more patriarchal than a male-dominated parliament dictating to women how they should live their lives, which is the case in Western countries across the world. Whereas Islam refuses to accept this, we take the legislation from the Islamic texts. The third thing is that I don't think Sue's addressed my primary question today, which is that Britain, the US, you know, these are not, whether you say that it's a secular society or not, it's not an Islamic society, it's not an Islamic system, nor is it a Christian state. So why the existence of these problems, the high epidemic levels of abuse and violence and the breakdown, exploitation of women, why do these problems still exist within these societies? I think this question needs to be addressed as to what has caused these problems within society, and the fact that the solutions provided have not worked. Millions of pounds have been thrown at domestic violence through various initiatives. It hasn't worked. Millions of pounds have been thrown at preventing teenage pregnancies to a level where they're so desperate now they're teaching 5-year-olds about this. Why has it not worked? I think we need to ask some soul-searching questions about these liberal values, Western values of gender equality, capitalism, that for so long have been viewed as sacred and non-questionable, non-touchable. I think it's long past its sell-by date for these values to be questioned in terms of their impact on society. And the last 2 points is that secular liberalism cannot claim the credit for have pioneered the rights for women, because Islam did this 1400 years ago. It cannot take the credit for this. It pretends to by evading our countries, through the Western governments invading our countries, using this women's rights as a smokescreen and as an excuse. But it cannot take the credit for this. Women had to fight secular systems and continue to fight secular systems in order to protect their rights today. Islam and women never had to do this in the past. So really, my concluding point is that this idea that Islam oppresses the woman, it's outdated. It's outdated, it's time to put it into the past, it's time to move the debate forward and to really look at what kind of value system, what kind of beliefs, what kind of ideals can actually lead to a better way of life for women, remove the oppression, remove the abuse, create harmony between men and women in the workplace. This is the primary question that needs to be asked, and I think this is where the debate really needs to be had. And hopefully in the future we can have many more debates like this to address some of these issues.
Inshallah.
Okay, so that concludes our debate today. I'd like to thank both the speakers. Before you go, I'd like to thank both the speakers and for you guys for contributing. And also there is I'm not sure if you guys filled out the contact details for future events and all that, for the mailing list. And also there is a women's only conference this Sunday, Islam, the Global Liberation of Women. Sorry, on the 20th of March. 20th of March, not this Sunday.